It's been a long, drawn-out process, but we finally have the 30 athletes that will be competing at this year's World's Strongest Man. Taken longer this year to get to our final 30 athletes, but we are there. We have the 30, we know who's going. Now we can start to get excited for this show.
Yes, finally, thankfully. So the last 2 athletes have been announced. We thought we were there last week. We had what should have been the last 3, but then obviously 2 withdrawals there, sadly. Shane Flowers and Christian Howardson not being able to compete this year after getting injured in training. But yes, we are here. Shall we go through the whole list then, Lozzie?
Let's do it. Let's remind everyone, because I think people have been a bit confused and forgotten who's competing and whatnot. So even just to remind ourselves, let's take a look at all 30 athletes. So our first athlete is Tom Stoltman. He's 29 years old, representing the UK. This will be his 7th appearance at World's Strongest Man and his previous best results. Obviously, he is a 2-time winner of the World's Strongest Man. Clearly, Tom is one of the heavy favourites for this year's World. He has not been outside the top 2 in the last 4 years at the World's Strongest Man. He is going into this competition as one of the big favourites.
Returning to the World's Strongest Man is Rob Kerney. Rob is representing the USA. He is 32 years old. This is going to be his 5th appearance at Worlds, and his best placing so far is 3rd in his heat. So he's made the stone off type stages, but he's not been able to get to the final yet.
Can he get into that final? Our next athlete is the 28-year-old Pole, Oskar Zilkowski. This will be his 1st appearance at the World's Strongest Man.
Next up is the current title holder, Mitchell Hooper. He is 28 years old. He's representing Canada. This will be his 3rd appearance at the World's Strongest Man. And of course, his best placing so far is 1st place last year.
Obviously, Mitch, another heavy favourite. Him and Tom Stoltman, probably the number 1 and 2 in most people's eyes. We're expecting a big battle. I know his training's been going fantastic. Cannot wait to see Mitch out at Worlds. And another athlete that can definitely throw his name into the contenders list is Evan Singleton. Evan is 31 years old, representing the United States of America. This will be his 5th appearance at the World's Strongest Man, and his best result was 5th in last year's final.
And last year was also the first time he made the final as well, and he had a great result.
He's going to want to improve on that 5th place.
Next up is this year's oldest competing athlete, none other than the World's Strongest Master himself, Rno Hhler, representing Estonia. Rno's 41 years old. This is only going to be his 3rd appearance at World's Strongest Man, and his best placing so far was 3rd in the group last year. And of course, we had that epic stone-off battle with Brian Shaw.
We know how badly he wants to make the final this year. Next up, we have the 32-year-old from New Zealand, Matt Ragg. Matt really burst onto the scene a few years ago. An amazing year last year, making the final in his 1st appearance. He ended up 9th in last year's final. People are expecting much better things for Matt in this one.
Then we have the Welsh bull, Gav Bilton. Gav is 35 years old. He's representing the UK, and this will be his 5th appearance at the World's Strongest Man, with his best placing so far being 3rd in his group.
Another athlete with a lot of experience at the World's Strongest Man is the 2-time winner of Europe's Strongest Man, Lukestalman. Representing the UK, Luke is 39 years old. He's been at 8 World's Strongest Man competitions before. He's going in for his 9th, and his best place ever is 7th. Can he do better than that in this one?
I think he can.
I think this is the best chance Luke has of a top 5 finish at World's Strongest Man. He's looking in great shape. Obviously, some major contenders are not going to be competing this year. Luke is coming in ready. We could well see him in the top 5, maybe even strive for that podium.
Coming back for his 7th appearance at the World's Strongest Man and representing Latvia is 36-year-old Iva Schor. Iva's best place so far in the final is 8th.
Another American that's competing this year is 36-year-old Spencer Remick, the former winner of OSG. He's at his 2nd World's Strongest Man, and last year he placed 6th in his heat.
Next, we have former Europe's Strongest Man Pavo Caka, who'll be representing Ukraine. The 28-year-old is returning for his 3rd appearance at the World's Strongest Man, and last year was his best placing to date when he came 6th in the final.
A man that burst onto the scene at last year's World's Strongest Man is Yaco Skinkle, who will be representing South Africa. This man won his heat with the likes of Brian Shaw in there last year. Unfortunately picked up an injury in the final, obviously ending up in 10th place. He's fully recovered, coming back. Can he do better than that this year?
Travelling to Worlds this year from the land down under is 33-year-old Eddie Williams. This is going to be his third appearance at the World's Strongest Man, and his best placing so far is 5th in his group.
Another experienced athlete from the UK is Adam Bishop. Adam is 35 years old. This will be his 9th appearance at the World's Strongest Man. He's made the final 3 times before, with his best place being 6th.
One of the first timers for this year's competition is Cain Francis. He's 31 years old. He'll be representing the UK, and he's had a great last year in Strongman.
Another man that's really impressed over the last couple of years is Thomas Evans. This guy has really dominated the amateur scene for a few years, and he competed in his first World's Strongest Man last year. He placed 4th in his heat. He'll be wanting to come back and do better than that.
Another man who's been doing incredibly well on the amateur scene, coming to the World's Strongest Man for the first time, is Austin Andrade, and the 30-year-old will be representing Mexico.
An athlete I'm looking forward to seeing back at World's Strongest Man is the 30-year-old Trey Mitchell from the USA. He's placed 4th in this competition before, coming back from injury. How soon is it? He's looking fantastic in training. He is a major threat if he is fully fit and in shape.
Next is the American Nightmare, Bobby Thompson, returning for his 5th appearance at the World's Strongest Man. The 31-year-old is representing the USA, and he has placed 9th in the final before. Not like Bobby is an incredible strongman. World's Strongest Man isn't best suited to him, is it?
Bobby's problem at Worlds is the stone off.
Yeah.
If he can avoid the stone off, win the group, he's a threat in the final. For him, the issue is getting to the final. He's an amazing athlete. Unfortunately, his one bigger weakness is the Atlas stone. So if he can avoid that, win the group, then he's a threat. But it's a tough one at Worlds for him. Another newcomer to World's Strongest Man is Marcus Crowder. He was the winner of official Strongman Games last year, and he'll be representing the United States of America.
Another newcomer to the World's Strongest Man is Canadian Wesley DWinsky, who also qualified through the official Strongman Games route when he placed 2nd there last year.
The first ever athlete to represent Ghana at the World's Strongest Man, the one and only Evans Nana, burst onto the scene over the last couple of years, done exceptionally well in the Strongman Champions League. He's 26 years old, and this is going to be his first World's Strongest Man contest.
And another athlete coming in via the official Strongman Games route is Nathan Gotry, who placed 3rd at last year's OSG, and he is going to be representing the USA.
The former world under 105 champion Nicholas Cambi is going to be representing Italy at this year's World's Strongest Man. Recently placed 6th at Europe's Strongest Man. How's he going to do in his first Worlds?
Returning to the World's Strongest Man for his 3rd appearance, representing Ireland, is Pavo Caka, and the 38-year-old's best placing so far in the competition is 4th in his heats.
The youngest athlete at this year's competition is 22-year-old Andrade Foyu, representing the Czech Republic. He placed 4th at Europe's Strongest Man this year. He is a monster when it comes to overhead pressing. Looking forward to seeing how he does at this year's Worlds.
Returning to the World's Strongest Man for his 6th appearance is Kevin Ferris, who is representing the USA. He's made the final before, and his best finish so far has been 7th.
Another athlete that's going to be representing Canada at this year's World's Strongest Man is 32-year-old Tristan Ho. He has won his last 2 international competitions. This guy has really burst onto the scene very quickly, and he's looking forward to his first Worlds.
And finally, representing Poland, we have Adam Rosowski. The 30-year-old is coming to World's Strongest Man for the first time. He's a regular on the Strongman Champions League show, and last year he placed 2nd at OSG Europes.
So there we have it, 30 athletes for this year's World's Strongest Man. It's a stacked lineup, lots of new faces, however.
Yeah.
Some major players as well within the World's Strongest Man. I think we're going to have an exciting competition. Obviously, we all have our favourites, but we've seen it every single year with people surprising, making that final. Brian Shaw getting beat by Yaco Skinkle in the heats last year. You know, anything can happen when it comes to World's Strongest Man. It's a tough show. It's a long show as well. I've got my idea of who I think is going to be like, you know, the top few guys, but we have seen anything happens in this sport. Let us know your favourites. Who you're going to be supporting. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is getting on the podium? Who do you think is making the final? And as always, don't forget, like, share and subscribe to the channel.